You are listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZWLP Conroe and 106.1 KZCCLP Conroe and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Hey, this is Dick from Lone Star Community Radio. We have a big announcement for Lone Star Community Radio and our listeners. We have partnered with another TV station. That's right, you'll be seeing Lone Star Community Radio content on KVQT, Channel 12 in the Houston area. Now is a great time to start a show or sponsor a show with Lone Star Community Radio. For more information on everything that is happening, visit us online at irlonestar.com or call the station at 936-647-3776 and leave a message. And we want to also wish everyone a safe and happy Thanksgiving.
And welcome to the Good News program. This is Ted Cox, your host. We always like to come here every Thursday between 1 and 3 Central Time. We're broadcasting on irlonestar.com in downtown, beautiful, palatial Conroe, Texas. Today we have a guest on, Terri Jaggers from Orphan Care Solutions. She's been on before, but we wanted to have her back on because we have some big events coming up and big news coming up and a lot of things that we hope that you can participate in and celebrate in. So we wanted to have her back on to talk about all of the needs. There is always a never-ending set of needs for the children who are coming out of foster care and into being adopted. And there's a number of organizations she works with. And so we wanted to talk a little bit about that. But before we jump into that, Terri, why don't you, for the people who may not have heard the first program, kind of talk a little bit about your background and how you knew very early on that this was going to be ultimately the call in your life, and kind of walk us through your story.
Sure. Well, I went into foster care when I was 4 years old. And so I had an experience that I knew of and learned of foster care very young. And when I was in third grade, I had accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior. And I was told in my experience in my head, I knew that I was going to be a part of changing the foster care system in Texas. Wow. And so I knew that. Right. I just didn't know what that looked like. Right. I had no idea what that meant. Right. And it just, from a 8-year-old's point of view, all I really knew was that my daddy was the King of Kings, the Most High. And that made me the princess. Right, right. I was the son of the king, or the daughter of the king, right? So that gave me that helped me understand that I was adopted. I was an heir. Okay. You know, I was somebody very special. I wasn't just a kid that was struggling with turmoil in family and life and that, but that I was chosen to be valued. And so in that, I grew into my understanding and knowledge more as I got older, more into what foster care was like and the difficulties of that system. But then when I became a teenager, I kind of ran away from my faith a bit because that's not abnormal for teens, let alone kids of all kinds of different traumas and experiences, right? But when I became an adult, a young adult, I found my way back in understanding my identity. And in 2005, after, back engaged in my relationship with the Lord, I was crowned Mrs. Texas. Right. That was a result of my foster kids, because we had become foster parents, and my husband and I. And my foster kids thought it would be a great experience for us to get involved more in the foster care system with a platform. And they thought that being a title holder would enable me the opportunity to afford having conversations with state legislators and ultimately national legislators to change the foster care system. So I did that. I became Mrs. Texas. I ultimately ended up winning the national title, and I found a launching springboard of my experiences and in all areas of foster care to be able to educate and provide continuity among organizations that I wasn't affiliated with directly, but I had great knowledge of. And allowed me to start working them together into a collaboration that ultimately here in Montgomery County started. It's where it started with National Adoption Day and a group of organizations that wanted to see a way at which children that were in foster care could be we could get them out of the foster care system and really market and help people understand the need for permanent loving families for these children so that they don't stay in the state system. I was working with the Dave Thomas Foundation on a national level for that same project. And so Montgomery County became the very first county in which a template was created for the rest of the state of Texas and ultimately the United States is used for National Adoption Day and collaborative efforts. So Orphan Care Solutions became out of that one event. That event stemmed a continuation of that collaborative movement, and which included nonprofit organizations, the commissioners, court, county judge, the mayor at the time was Tommy Metcalf, and many CASA, many organizations, Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, working together for one event for the children, created an ongoing relationship of goodwill that now we work with lots of not just events, but lots of problems in the foster care system to create solutions for those problems. So that's what Orphan Care Solutions is. It's a collaborative effort that bridges not just the stakeholders in foster care, but now with the faith-based community as well. So that's what Orphan Care Solutions is, and that's where it got its roots, right across the street, right here from this radio station.
Wow, that's incredible.
I can't imagine you being, stage shy going through that beauty contest too. I can see where you get the voice from.
So I have to tell you, I just as a little fun note, my very first time I did the pageant as Mrs. Texas, I was so not prepared because pageant has its own culture and it has its own expectations of its contestants. And when I made it to the top 5, which was a big shock all in of itself, they asked me an onstage question, and I know your radio audience can't visualize this, so let me just kind of describe it. I tossed my hair back using my right hand and my left hand as I started to explain. Then they asked me, so I understand you have a large family. Could you tell us a little bit about them? I was so excited that the question was so simple that I became just non-pageant and threw my hair back and said, oh, I'd be happy to. Needless to say, I did not win that one. I ended up in first runner-up and had to come back. And ultimately, after 3 shots at first runner-up, I ended up finally winning the state title. But no, I'm not the pageant girl. I'm not the parade winning kind of flag parade waving kind of woman. I'm a get it done, get it down, get it dirty. Yeah, I want my crown broken. I want my sash replaced. Otherwise, I'm not a working queen, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But thank you for the compliment. I appreciate that.
It really is amazing. I know you kind of flew over a few years, but I do want to go back because I think as I've gotten to know you now, I'm intrigued. Most people have no clue what they're meant to do, what they're called to do, even as they get into their 20s and 30s and even 40s. Yeah. But here you knew early who you were as a result of your faith and what you were going to be doing. You had no clue what it was going to look like, but you knew that. I mean, can you talk a little bit more about how you came to faith? Was it a single message that you heard?
I'd be happy to.
Yeah, because that is really intriguing that framed, even now, even today, that still framed, back then is what still framed that. That's just really intriguing and I think an inspiring story.
Well, I have to help make some of it in context, I had a very loving mother, very loving mother. I still do. Thank God she's 85 years old and I love her deeply. And she wanted me to know God. She wanted me to. And so she encouraged me to go to church. Even when I was able to be with her whenever, so there was always that kind of hope. And even today, if you know my mom, she's a very loving kind of woman who wanted nothing more than to protect me in my life. Just didn't always happen. But nevertheless, I was in 3rd grade and I was attending a Baptist church, one of the fire and brimstone type of Baptist churches, on Easter Sunday. And I had gone with our neighbor who had invited me to go with them. I'd never been to this church before, and I'd never been to this kind of church before. So when the pastor was talking at the very end about, if you're feeling the tug in your heart to know more and you can feel Jesus calling you to walk forward and, give your life to him, I could feel it. Wow. I felt like he was talking to me. And I know that there's a lot of people that experience that and they don't have the courage to to move forward in that.
Well, my story is similar.
But
Later in life.
I figured this was in my little 8-year-old mind. I thought, they don't know me. What difference does it make?
Right.
I'm going to do with what I feel like I should do. Right. So I did. So I walked up to the front, and I remember the pastor said to me, asked me my name, and asked me why I chose to walk up to the front. And I looked at him, and I realized now he was asking to see if I was able to make a decision. Was I too young to make this decision, or was I knowingly making this decision? And I looked him right in the face, and I said, because I want God to be my daddy. And that was it. And I knew right then that was the decision I was making, and it was truly from my heart. And that was, and then he took me to the back, and he gave me a little Bible and talked to me, and did what the Baptists do. They take you in the back room, and they talk to you, and they pray over you, and they talk to you about baptism, and they do that. And that was when I went home feeling different. It wasn't like I just made a decision. I went home feeling different. I felt like I felt happy. I felt at peace, and I felt excited about my tomorrows. Right. So anyway, that's a little tidbit of my story, and it goes on. But when God spoke to me that I would help transform foster care, I know we're going to be taking a break here in a second, but if we can get back to that, I'd be happy to share that.
As we come back, that'll be a little tease for you who are listening, maybe zooming up and down 45 here in Conroe. As you get to wherever you're landing, dial in to us online at irlonestar.com and listen to the rest of the story, because we still have a lot to talk about, especially the events coming up next week. So join us on the other side of the break, and we'll talk to you in just a minute.
A Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show, with monthly and weekly slots available on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647-3776 to take your first step into the radio world.
For those of you who like your partners, your gumbo, and your music salty, well, we're here to help with the music. Julian Shea here, host of Lone Star Country Nights Thursday, your weekly dose of roots and Americana and all the music that makes this part of the country special. We stir in Western swing, honky-tonk, Zydeco, Texas blues, outlaw country, and put a pinch of red dirt, and then we smoke it over a slow fire. Then listen to the results Thursday nights on Conroe's 104.5 and 106.1 and worldwide at irlonestar.com.
And welcome back to the Good News Program. We are talking today with Terri Jaggers of Orphan Care Solutions, and we are going to pick up where she left off with the call on her life and her response to God, and that now God's her daddy, and not just some distant dad, but a personal, intimate dad. And so that set you on a path that ultimately you knew you were going to be working with adoption and foster care at some point. Mm-hmm. So I know you want to pick up on the story and kind of.
Sure. So now fast track to adulthood.
Yeah.
Okay. You go through.
I wasn't sure how much you were going to jump.
You go through a whole lot, and we could have a whole other story on just my life. Okay. One day we just do that. But when I became an adult, I always knew that I had a heart for God had placed in my heart this seed that I was going to be involved in foster care. I just didn't know how, as an adult, that was going to look. And then my husband and I were married 16 days after we met, which is a whole nother story, but we've been married 33 years.
I actually got you beat.
Did you? Yeah? In how short a time before you were married?
We were engaged 4 days and one lunch meeting date, and we were married 6 months to the day we met.
So
now it's 29 years ago.
So I met my husband. Okay. And 16 days later, we were married.
Oh, you were married. Okay,
yeah,
you got me beat.
We were married, but I married him for 5 years with five-year renewable options. because as a former foster and I just in my own experiences, regardless,
Right.
I didn't know that, I didn't believe that anybody could say they loved somebody
Right.
and it not have some personal attachment of self-centeredness to it.
Huh.
There was
Okay.
there was a sense that love meant I want something from you. If I'm going to tell you I love you,
Right.
it's because I'm going to benefit from it, whether it's sexually or whether it's emotionally. It wasn't about the person being loved. It was the person saying they loved, wanting something.
As a form of manipulation?
Yes.
Or what? Okay,
yes.
gotcha.
So I just didn't believe that
And
anybody.
was that your experience in foster?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
it was just my experience in life.
Life.
And go across the board. You know,
okay.
that love had some. It wasn't longevity.
Okay.
Love didn't mean long. Love was superficial,
Okay.
and it was a word that was overused for personal gain.
And always, maybe not always, but had an ulterior motive.
Had
at
an ulterior motive.
At some point.
Yeah,
And at some
there was
point
a lot
you
of
were going to
deception.
discover that.
Yeah, there was a lot of deception in that word. So when I met my husband, he told me that he told me the second day that we were together that he had told his best friend the night before that he had met the woman he was going to marry, but that she didn't know it yet. And I looked right at him and
Exactly
I
the
said,
same.
save your heart. If you think it's me, you got a long way to go because I'm not getting married anytime soon.
Right.
Well, we spent a lot of time together, and I found that he was a great friend and somebody that I felt safe around. And I felt like I could see the sunset with him on a porch swing
Okay.
in my 80s.
Yeah.
So I told him, one day, on the 16th day after we were together, I told him, I said, you know what? If you asked me to marry you today, I'd probably say yes. But tomorrow I'd probably change my mind. Okay. So I said, but I would only marry you for 5 years with 5-year renewable options. That's it. Take it or leave it. So we got married that night, and we've been married now almost 33 years next week. And we got through the 5-year renewable options. And what it taught me was, and this is the lesson in it for foster care,
Yeah.
that the brokenness that people have in their lives, that young people have in their lives, is not easily fixed. And that when love and trust is broken, that to heal that, it takes a long time. And it takes agape love. It takes sacrificial love. And you don't see that in foster care. Foster kids don't see that kind of love. They never grow in it. They never experience it. It's about Christmas. Let me give you Christmas presents because our family wants to do something to feel good for us. So we're going to give you Christmas presents. It's really not about the kid. It's about the family giving because they want to teach their children or they want to do something good.
Right.
But it's really not about the receiver.
Right.
And the receiver knows it.
Right.
And so children don't ever feel that are in foster care like they have value.
Okay.
Because everybody makes the decisions for them. The caseworker tells them when they get to see their parents and when they don't.
Okay.
Where their siblings are not usually with them. And so it's a very chaotic system in which love is a word that is thrown out
Okay.
irresponsibly.
Okay.
So I
Well,
married him
you-
for five years. We ended up, it took me 25 years to know that somebody could say, I love you and know what it means, what the sacrifice of that is. And even more importantly, it took me 25 years to know that I could tell somebody I love them and know what that is defined as, what that means. So yeah, trauma is difficult. And so there you go.
and
There's
for-
a tidbit.
But for you, you were able to ultimately to come to a position where you knew love. You knew that there was
On my
permanency.
silver wedding anniversary.
Okay. But is it your experience that maybe a lot of foster kids never know that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You
So,
know,
because you said time, perhaps ultimately you might know that. But has it been your experience that regardless of time, there are some kids that grow into adults who never know that, never sense that, never
Absolutely.
receive it or give it?
Absolutely. And that's a real problem where the church has failed.
Ah. Okay.
You know,
Okay.
for James 1:27 makes it really clear that if we want to please God, if we want to show him how practice some sort of religion that in his sight he finds is pure, that it's that we would care for the widows and the orphans in their distress.
Right.
Well, what does that mirror? Well, it mirrors the same exact relationship that God had for us by giving us his son and loving us and adopting us into heirs. So when we reflect that kind of love by giving our time and our talents to these kids, we're demonstrating that love. The problem is the church has abandoned that role way too often and for far too long. And so most of these children don't have support around them that is unconditional love. They don't have that. They don't have foster families. An average foster child who's in foster care is in foster care for 5.5 years. Well, if you're in foster care for 5.5 years and you have been in 18 schools,
Right.
that means you've been in how many families?
Right.
So there's not a reflection of love. There's not even education of love. The kids are not seeing it even within the structure of a foster family,
Right.
because they're being shifted too fast for it to ever root, for young men to ever learn what it's like to be a husband,
Right.
to be a man. And it affects these kids their entire lives. And then they become teenagers, right? And what are they looking for? They're looking for love.
Right.
They didn't get it. They don't have it. They're looking for it. And they look for it and they get sucked into all the wrong types of love.
Right.
And the majority of our 2/3 of our foster young girls, by the time they're 21, when they've aged out, they already have babies. So 2/3. So and why is that? Because they're looking for love, but they're not knowing what that really looks like, what it really should look like.
And here's, in this case, a girl, a woman, and the male is saying, I love you, because of that ulterior motive of sex.
Exactly.
So this will be a lead-in question that is probably going to be impossible to answer with any short time. So we'll go into the break with perhaps part of your answer, and then come out of it on the other
permanent
side.
loving families?
Well, it's about the church.
And adoption?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's about the church. So the church has failed, by and large. The church has failed. So what should the church do then? And I'll have a lead-in question, because it's my observation as well, is that the church, generally speaking, not all church is,
Right,
but
exactly.
the church, generally speaking, is a very juvenile church. It wants to be entertained. There are light popcorn messages that are usually delivered. There are short-term missions that people go on, largely for the benefit of the people going rather than the people receiving. So there seems to be a lot of things within the church that would cause foster care or orphan care to fall into that juvenilization.
Yeah.
So, but that's a lead in. And if it goes in a different direction from your experience, because I don't have your experience with the church, so maybe we can begin your thoughts, and then we'll come back on the other side of the break and complete the thoughts. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. So go ahead.
Are we going now?
No, go ahead and get started. Well, let's just go ahead and go to break. Because that was my worry. I thought this is a big question that's going to take a lot of time to unpack. So sorry for leading in. So let's go ahead and take the break.
We'll take the break now, because that's
this
a good
big
question, and I want her to have the full
So
time to answer it.
That was completely unfair. So Terry, I have to ask for her.
I'm hanging on by the edge of my seat as well. I want to know what her answer is too. So
all right, Jake, well, take us into break, and then on the other side we'll start to unpack it, because I definitely want to get to all the stuff that's about to happen as well. I don't want us to lose that time. So we'll talk to you on the other side of the break. Listen in Mondays at noon to hear Conroe news from local nonprofits, businesses, upcoming events, Conroe Park events, news stories, and information that matters to you with your host, Margie Taylor of Taylorized PR. For more information about being a guest, visit irlonestar.com/Conroe Culture.
Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show, with monthly and weekly slots available on Conroe's FM 104.5 and 106.1 and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647-3776.
And welcome back to the Good News program. We are here with Terri Jaggers of Orphan Care Solutions. And so sorry again for the horrible lead in. But as we come out of the break, one of the things that we leveled, and both of us did, was there's a description of a potential problem within the church, or a problem within the church. And I know you have a very specific prescription for what to do about it. So as we pick up the conversation again, why don't you kind of unpack a little bit about the church and what you think the solution would be for us as a faith community to help?
Okay, well, let's talk about the problem.
Yes.
Okay, first.
Yes.
The problem seems to be more than one problem. But first, I think a lot of it is ignorance. I think that the church just really doesn't understand foster care and doesn't know how they can invest their talents into solutions that would help further the kingdom for these children.
Right.
Okay, I truly think a lot of it is that.
Yeah, and let me just attest to that, because as you know, I have a degree from a seminary. I was a pastor for 2 different churches, and before I met you, had no clue about orphan care. Could read it in the Bible, but had no clue what it was. It was this hard to deal with blob of stuff over there, which I could see the command and had no clue about how to go about helping. So I can attest that ignorance, at least from my point of view and my experience,
and it's complicated. It's not just that
it is.
It's complicated. This is a system that is riddled in red tape and bureaucracy.
Right.
And organizations of every one of them has their own fiefdom of responsibility and accountability and authority, they think. And so working together and working within it is very, very complex. It's very difficult. So yes, absolutely. I think there's a lot of ignorance, but I also think that the truth is, who wants to really sit around and talk about abuse and neglect and broken bones and sexual abuse and kids being locked in closets and being chained to beds for years of their life and not fed? Who wants to really talk about the types of things that foster care really sees every day? It's dark, it's ugly, it is not amusing, it is not a feel good. In fact, the more you understand and the more you know about it, the harder it is to want to stay involved in it, because it almost becomes overwhelming with a sense of this is what the enemy thrives in. Yes. And if we live and we work in it, we get overwhelmed by it. And so I think that the church doesn't, not only are they ignorant, I think that they don't want to. I think there's when they start to, there's almost this is too tough. This is too messy. I'm not equipped. And I want to encourage the church to know you are equipped. We don't have to do something that we're not equipped for. We have to invest in our talents, what we are equipped for, the things that God's given us, the gifts he's given us. When we invest them into the foster care system, it's natural. It feels easy. It is uncomplicated, and it is life-breathing. And that's what we have to do, and that's what we have to continue to help the churches to understand is we all have talents. How do we invest them? Where are they needed? That's what Orphan Care Solutions is doing, and that's what the upcoming events are all about that we're going to talk about, I'm sure.
Yes, coming up. Well, and I know that the James passage that you quote quite often of the pure religion and the widows and the orphans is followed very soon thereafter by, if you lack wisdom, ask. And so it would strike me that God would not give a command in his inspired word to go and care for a group of people and then not equip his people to do it. Right. It just is, it's incongruent with God's character. But again, I think it's people like you who have both not only the passion, but the ability to see the problems and then the solutions, and almost having an iron will, as I've gotten to know you, an iron will to just impose that onto the system to say, there's a way to do this, and here's how you do it. And then the system responds.
And the government makes terrible parents. They are terrible parents. They're not equipped to be good parents, and that was the church's responsibility. But they are still the ever over imposing reality.
Well, yes.
But that's it.
So ignorance, messiness, willful ignorance, probably somewhere in the middle. So then, what's the solution? So how have you constructed your organization and, so again, sort of imposed your will on governmental organizations to create the solutions?
Well, in a nutshell, the goal
And I know you do a lot, so it's going to be hard.
So I'm going to be in a nutshell.
Yes.
In a nutshell, our goal is to educate and empower the church
Okay.
so that they can understand how and what their talents are, and then match those talents into a foster care system that is too complicated for them to be able to navigate on their own.
Okay.
So Orphan Care Solutions acts as the clearinghouse and bridge
Okay.
between the foster care stakeholders' problems, the needs of the kids and the problems that exist in our system.
Right. Okay.
And the solutions that can be generated through the talents of the church collectively.
Okay.
And that can look individually, like whether it's you or your neighbor or your best friend, or whether it's your entire small group, or whether it's your church as a ministry.
Okay.
But it's holistic, not just we need more foster parents, and so
Right.
we're going to completely talk about we got to have foster parents,
Right,
and that excludes people who are in their 70s who have had businesses and are super organized and mindful about business, because they're not. I can't handle being a foster parent.
Right.
Their talent needs to be more in the mentoring and in the helping develop
Right.
strong strategic plans for some of our nonprofits as they grow and develop
Okay.
into more sustainable nonprofits to help more kids.
Yeah.
So, there's a place for everybody to get involved, and they just need to know, what is your talent? And I honestly think that's probably the hardest thing for all of us,
Okay.
is to really identify, what is it that God's gifted me with?
Right.
What can I do well that I can invest? And that looks different for every person, whether it's a teacher who's great at teaching, which obviously could be a tutor,
Right.
in a zip code that they live in, that a foster kid is also in,
Right.
that you can match, or whether it is a family that wants to foster, or a family that wants to adopt, or mentors for programs like Hope's Path,
Okay.
that for kids that have aged out of the system,
Right.
that need financial guidance, and they need to understand healthcare, and they need to understand how to navigate contracts for rental property and purchasing cars, and these
Yeah.
types of things are necessary. And without any kind of intellectual capital from the generation that has been through it, they that aren't necessarily interested in fostering or adopting, they flounder and they make bad choices. And some of those bad choices can haunt them for their entire lives. So everybody has you could be a violin teacher, and you know what? There's going to be a kid that comes into foster care that says, I wish I could play the violin.
Right.
So it's important that our church can register their talents on the talent database at orphancaresolutions.com. So there's actually a place on our website where, once you know what you're good at, I'm a great CPA, or I'm a great lawyer, or I'm a great teacher, or I'm a great fisherman, or whatever you're great at,
Right.
Quilting, go to orphancaresolutions.com, go to the needs tab,
Okay.
and it will scroll down and it'll say register your talent. And then we can match the talents like we did with Harvey,
Right.
by being able to help get some of our families, sheetrockers and people, to get them back into their home as soon as possible, so that those families were not disassembled,
Right.
and placed in, and kids removed and placed in other foster homes. So you never know what God will call you to do, but unless you're willing to get in the game and say, I'm willing to ante in and say yes, we can't call on you.
Okay.
Right.
And
So that's just one thing.
I implore everybody out there to back up what you're saying. Think about when you were first growing up, when you were 18, 19, getting that first job, having to fill out your taxes for the first time, and not knowing how to do it. I just got a new job, and I'm having to decipher between healthcare plans. I've never done that before. I had to call my parents. These kids don't have those adults. They don't have the parents there to mentor them. So
Right.
I encourage y'all to.
Right.
Every task, every skill has a use.
And
So
think
put it to
about
use.
the simplest things. Even when you first had your car, you finally got your first car, and you got a ticket, right? And you're like, I don't know what this is,
Or had to get your registration done.
and I don't know what this
Right,
is, and
exactly,
so I
right.
ignore it.
Right.
And then what happens when you ignore your ticket? You have a warrant out for your
Yeah,
arrest.
bad thing.
And then next thing you know, it spirals.
Right.
So just the simplest things in life, transitioning into adulthood is huge.
Right.
And so yeah, there's lots of talents. It's,
Well, and even at Hope's Path, as you gave me the tour, the kids that are in there, well, I guess the young adults really that are in there, you were showing me had just their schedule of the day, and not only chores that they must do for themselves, but also for the community, whether it's cooking or cleaning or taking out the trash
or helping the neighbor.
Helping the neighbor. I mean, there's a number of things.
Leaves.
I mean,
Whatever.
because you think you're right. I mean, that it would seem that you could turn inward as a foster kid going from place to place to place and not want to reach out or not want to be part of a community. And so places like Hope's Path seems like not only are they giving them the simplest of life skills, but also are saying there is a community that you can trust.
And our hope is that we're healing some of their I can't love, I don't know what love is type of things that occur from trauma, right? That by engaging in their life selflessly, by giving them tools to successfully sustain independence, that gives them an understanding of hope. And where does hope come from? It comes from love.
And it's offshoots of security and love back, and forgiveness. And so Terri, we're going to go to a break. I think we'll have our final segment, and so we got to talk about what's coming up.
Yes, National Adoption Day.
I know. So we'll be talking about that on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Good News Show with Ted Cox and Terri Jaggers. Don't forget, we will post a link to orphancaresolutions.com from our Facebook page. So go to the needs, check it out, fill it out, and become a part of their solution. We'll be back on the other side of the break.
Our talk shows and music shows are looking for sponsors. Want to expand your brand awareness? Reach the hyper-local audience in Montgomery County? Lone Star Community Radio sponsorships accomplish this. Want to see our stats and rates? Check out irlonestar.com/sponsor for more information. Or call in and leave us a message at 936-647-3776.
Hispanic Chamber Connections with Dr. Carlos Sanchez, President of the Woodlands Conroe Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, featuring event announcements, member highlights, and more. Tuesdays at 1 p.m., broadcasting from the heart of Conroe, Texas on irlonestar.com and Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1.
And welcome back to the Good News Show with Ted Cox. I am a host each Thursday from 1 to 3. You're listening on Conroe's own IR Lone Star. You can listen to us. You probably are if you're jetting up and down 45 on 104.5 or 106.1. And whenever you get landed, you can stream us live on either the app or irlonestar.com. And we're here every Thursday afternoon from 1 to 3. Today we have Terri Jaggers back in to talk about orphan care. And there are some pretty big events coming up in the next week or two. And so we wanted to talk about both. There's two separate events. So, well, actually three, but two separate types of events. So I want you to talk about the events, when they are, where they are, what you need, if you need people from the community to participate or come alongside, and just kind of run us through what the next couple of weeks look like.
Okay, I'll be happy to.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is Orphan Sunday. We this coming Sunday is Orphan Sunday. Last Sunday was also Orphan Sunday. We celebrate 2 Sundays in November all across the world. And so churches all over the greater Houston, Montgomery County area are all, several of them are communicating that message of, James 1:27. But you can't just communicate a message and a command and not have next steps that you can point them to. So we have summits that are scheduled all over the greater Houston area. The closest one in Montgomery County is next Saturday. Not this coming Saturday, but next Saturday at Woods Edge Community Church. But the summits are geared towards providing a place for the community to go to and learn in breakout sessions of their choice. Go to any of them that they're interested in and learn about what does it take to be a foster parent? what is the process to adopt a child from foster care?
All right.
What type of volunteer opportunities are there in the community? What if I wanted to create an orphan ministry? What might that look like in our church? What is kinship care and how do we help? Or what are tangibles we could do regarding donations, school supplies, or Christmas gifts, or things like that? How might we get involved in that individually?
Okay.
Or how is my talent used exactly? Where could my talent be utilized? And it gives everybody that attends. It's free. We have them all over. You can go to orphancaresolutions.com. It's on the homepage.
Okay.
Check out and see which summit is closest to you. It's only from 8:30 to 12:30, I think, and you can leave whenever you're ready. If you hear the ones you want, and you've got your God's spoken to you, then go whatever. But there's like 4 or 5 sessions that run it simultaneously.
Okay.
And so you can pick which ones you're most interested in. But it really equips the church to learn and be able to know ways that they can engage. So that's coming up.
Okay.
So really encourage, we really need, wouldn't it be awesome? We have 4,000 children in foster care that do need adoptive families right here in the greater Houston area.
4,000.
Yeah. Or so I'm sorry, in Texas that we have No. I just got the new statistic. It was 5,999 children in Texas that are right now, yesterday, available. 5,999.
Right.
That was yesterday's statistic. I was like, wait a minute, I know the statistic. I just published it. That are available for adoption right here in Texas. So, if we have, how many churches do we have just in this community alone? If it was one church, one child, if every church could just really wrap their loving arms around either one foster child that was not going to be adopted or one adoptable child, we wouldn't have this problem, right? So that's my encouragement of the church. Let's just, it's not that monumental. We can do this.
Right.
So that's coming up. Also, what's coming up is Wednesday. We started off the show talking about how this one event has transformed foster care already in this community, and it's now got legs across the country, right?
Okay.
So National Adoption Day is, National Adoption Month is the month of November.
Okay.
And Montgomery County celebrates Adoption Day Wednesday, November the 15th.
Wednesday, November
so
the 15th.
that's coming up. It's always the Wednesday before Thanksgiving week here in Montgomery County.
Okay.
It's the Wednesday before Thanksgiving week. All right. So this coming Wednesday, we will have 26 children that will be adopted into 17 families all on one day, which is exciting. And there'll be Santa Claus, and there's volunteers will be there. If you want to volunteer, go to orphancaresolutions.com, go to the volunteer tab, click on the calendar event you want to volunteer for, and we'll get back with you and let you. But there's a cookie station, and there's crafts, and there's their first photo with Santa as a family. And there's making Sam Houston State University students will be there to help the kids make their picture frames for the kids, and it's just a great day. It's so much fun for these families, and so encourage anybody that wants to get involved in that.
So it's here.
It's at the Montgomery County Courthouse, right across
Conroe.
Downtown,
right across the street, actually, from where we are sitting currently, right on the main street.
Yes.
And so you mentioned a few things that are going to be happening. What are some of the volunteers that you need?
Well,
we
need
types of volunteers that you need?
Volunteers that are willing to help kids with crafts.
Okay.
Right. Volunteers that can help. Some of these families have like many children. And it's hard for them to juggle the cookies and the drinks and the stuff and the games and the gifts and
play zone defense.
So we need people that can help navigate. Yes, exactly. That can help navigate some of these families to keep corral of their kids.
Yes.
Where they can still have fun. Right.
Okay.
So and then in the courthouse itself, in the courtroom. It's just a really beautiful thing to watch. These families as they raise their right hand to the court and testify their love and desire to be a family, and the children that have to consent to this process as well.
Oh, wow.
It's
even
a choice
young
from both sides. Yes,
children
it is.
as well?
Mm-hmm. Children. Okay. No, when they're little, they can't, right?
Well,
but
I'm thinking
if they're old
5,
enough
6,
for
7, 8,
if they're old enough to have a conversation with the judge asks them, do you know why you're here today? And
Right.
some of them are so cute with their toothless front teeth, and they're trying to explain why they're being
Yes,
adopted.
sir. I know why
Yes.
I'm here.
Yes. Can we get back out to Santa?
Yes, Santa's waiting for me.
Exactly.
But they're so cute, and they come in their clothes, and and then some of them they'll have their pictures taken with a chalkboard or something that will say, I've been in foster care 932 days, and today I have my forever family. It's just beautiful. It's a great event. But we have volunteers that we need, so go register, and we'll get in touch with you. And whether it's helping serve food, or helping take pictures with Santa, or helping with the craft table or the games, or just keeping the kids corralled and making sure they get their Thanksgiving turkeys so they can have their HEB turkey for their first family Thanksgiving together. It's a great day. So, but
that is fun.
That's
what a good day.
Then that leads us to one more real big need.
Yes.
That I want to
Yeah,
really.
we have a couple of minutes, so I want
Okay.
to make sure everything's covered.
This one big need in the family is, we have, or in the communities, we have 972 foster children in Montgomery County. Okay. That's in conservative. Those are children that are foster kids in this community alone. Okay. They need Christmas, but the problem is we have 50 families here that were severely affected by Harvey.
Okay.
And their families are in severe needs.
Okay.
So we've partnered with KSBJ Radio.
Okay.
And we're trying very hard to help these families not only get what they need, but also supply some wants.
Okay.
Okay, so
All right.
I know that we've got Christmas wishes, and so go to orphancaresolutions.com. Those 50 families are designated on the website.
Okay.
You can actually go to one of those families, look at their registry with Walmart, and look at what their most important need is. It may be a refrigerator. It may be an oven. It may be washer and dryer. But we've got to get these families back into sustainable lives so that these children can get back in those homes, because we don't have resources to place them anywhere else.
Okay.
So, really look at
major
Christmas.
need.
Major needs with
Yes.
our foster families right now at Christmas time, and really want to encourage you, or small group, anybody, if you guys want to participate as a group or individually, contact me, or go directly to the website and pick a family, pick a child.
Well, that is a lot going on, and there's a lot of needs, but as you've already called out, there is a large number of congregations and small groups who, if we go to your website, orphancaresolutions.com, we'll link to it on our Facebook page, we can easily meet these needs. So we have the summit coming up next Saturday.
Yes.
We have the Adoption Day with part of the National Adoption Month next Wednesday here in downtown Conroe at the courthouse. And then the immediate needs of suffering from Hurricane Harvey, even still today, these many weeks afterwards. So there is a lot that can be done by people who may hear this broadcast and say, as you've said so many times, we might not know what to do, but we can do something.
Right.
So go to orphancaresolutions.com, look on the volunteer side for volunteering next Wednesday, look at the summit if you want to know more about adoption, and look at the families if you think you or your congregation or your small group can supply the needs and the wants for these families.
Right.
And so we look to have you on maybe another time to tell us all about the updates.
Yes.
Thanks so much for
Maybe
coming on.
future co-host.
Yeah.
She's
I
good.
love that.
She's good. I
You're
like
so
her.
sweet.
No
Thanks.
doubt.
Thanks.
So thanks, Terry. We'll talk to
Happy
to you all.
Thanksgiving to everybody.
Yeah.
If I don't see you before.
Yes. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll talk to everyone next Thursday beginning at 1 Central. See you then.
Thanks for checking out this podcast of Lone Star Community Radio, Montgomery County's community radio station. If you enjoyed this recording, make sure to check out our past shows online at irlonestar.com or their respective video or podcast formats on YouTube, Google Play, or iTunes. If you have any questions regarding the show, either it being about sponsorships or questions for the host, contact the station manager at dick@irlonestar.com or call the station at 936-647-3776. This show was recorded in downtown Conroe, Texas at the Lone Star Community Radio Studios. And Lone Star Community Radio reserves all rights to this recording and images.